Okay, welcome everybody. 2025 Spring Cleanse. Welcome to uh, you, actually, a new you. I love this time of year, right? Optimism comes back, the snow pulls away, unless you're in Michigan, and then, we'll be in May when the last snowstorm comes through. But nonetheless, our body starts to do these things that we go through every year, and maybe we don't know too much about what we're going through. For those of you that don't know me or someone who is watching this in the future, my name is Shreejan. I am the director of yoga programs at Shreejan, which is a 600-year-old yoga therapy institution in northern India. I came home and brought my wellness center with me to Southwest Michigan a few years ago, and since then have been educating students and the public on the magic of yoga therapies and Ayurveda. One of my favorite things to lead people through is the spring cleanse, 21, 23 days of guided cleansing at a cellular level, non-invasive, but still very thorough, with supportive daily education, lots of links of videos to watch, lots of suggestions of things you can do to make it more easeful, journal questions and reading assignments and peer group meetings and a Saturday mat class, all of it on Zoom. So welcome to the community. If you haven't done this with us before, this is our third year. We've got some veteran cleansers here in the meeting, and you're welcome to step up and tell us what you went through in years past. The concept of the cleanse is old. It comes from the originators of our yoga knowledge. The ones who brought it to us realized that we were natural. We are natural beings, just as a tree is a natural being. And if the trees and the birds and the lakes and even the air go through a cleansing time in the spring, so too then do humans, as above, so below. And so since the beginning of time, it was always a spiritual endeavor to sit down, take a break, go to retreat, have a sadhana, 21 days away from society in our regular life. Even back in the first century, that had a regular day job that kind of backed up all the systems, and they had to take some time out and go to the cave or go to the mountain or go to the ocean and do their emptying. So it was a spiritual practice. The same way that they would show deference to nature as they see one season leaving and another one beginning, and that sense of awe, of change, of the five elements and the three energies conspiring in a different way to reorganize the world around them, they wondered, how is this seasonal change also reorganizing myself, my body, my breath body, my brain body, right? My intuition, my connection to other people, and my connection to the cosmos. How do the seasons alter that every time the season changes? People in different climactic regions, we all have 4 seasons, no matter if you live in the desert or you live in the middle states of America. We all go through 4 major changes every year throughout our entire life. So making it an important, we can say, instead of divine event, we can say it's an important event, right? It's an event where you have to take some time and go away and do that and be dedicated to that and be in awe of that and be respectful of that, the same way you would sit at the foot of a very amazing Bodhi tree. And so sit at the foot of your own tree, your own existence, and be in awe of what your body can do and all the things that it provides for you, and then find a way to maintain it. So 21 days is what the Vedas tell us we need each year to go away from our lives. I know that sounds like a lot of time, especially for those of you who have full-time jobs and full-time families, but imagine how you can get that on the calendar. And if it's not 21 days altogether, maybe it's 1 day a week or half a day a week or 1 hour a day where you close the door and you have your own special place where you can empty out the mind into a journal, empty out the breath through pranayama, empty out the guts through, detoxes and GI maintenance. So that needs being empty is a place, for me, I understand emptiness is a place of creativity. Whenever we start something new, I'm a writer, so whenever I start something new, it's with a brand new, fresh, crispy journal. You know, there's nothing more exciting for a writer than an empty white journal with no lines, or an artist, you know, an empty drawing pad with no assignment. This is an exciting thing because the potential is everything. So the difference in Ayurveda, there is a full detox, and it's called panchakarma, or the five cleaning, the 5 layers of cleaning. We don't do all 5 in the United States because 2 of them are kind of illegal. But what we can do in the United States is we can clean out the entire GI system from the mouth to the anus, making sure that the microbial landscape is prepared for the next season. Microbial balance that you are used to in the winter, when you're eating foods that are sustaining and keeping your fires, your agni, your metabolism burning quite high so that you can stay alive while you hibernate, is different than the microbial balance you're going to have in spring. And so think about a house. Before you can move into your new house, the people who lived there before you have to move out and take all their stuff with them. So it's kind of like that when we transition and make room for all the new microbes. So a full detox that extends through the liver, the kidneys, all the organs, and gets down to a molecular level, that is a deep process. Many people don't qualify it because of illness or age or just tolerance for that kind of deep cleaning. And then there's a short cleaning that's 2 or 3 days of just eating khichdi and cutting back on your calories. Or there's a daily cleanse where you can do intermittent fasting and just keep your calories down to 200, or do a full fast, you know, of eating nothing but warm water. So there's all different kinds of cleaning or detoxing that you can do to get the GI system ready for something that's coming next. The program that I've designed for you is somewhere in between, you know, a softer, more tolerable general population cleaning and a full cellular detox. We're kind of in the middle. The benefits. So the benefits of doing a spring clean every year in the right way, at the right time. And when I say at the right time, we're going to be completing this 2 weeks after the start of spring, right at the full moon, which is right on time. Our final salt cleanse is going to happen right on the full moon. So or just before the full moon. So that's really great. We're going to be addressing the root cause, not of disease, but of imbalance of any of the energies that exist in the system. And an imbalance could be simply a dullness, doldrum from the winter. You know, your energy is different in the winter than it's going to be after the cleanse. So if you go into the spring with the winter doldrums and sort of drag yourself into your walk and drag yourself into your spring activities or the kids' soccer thing and drag yourself, eventually your energies will right themselves, but it will be at a great cost of tolerating an imbalance for so long that the toxins you drag along with you can actually cause illnesses. That's why we tend to get sick during the transitionary times. So the spring cold, the fall flu, it's usually we usually get sick during transitions, during seasons, or transitions in your life. Moving house, that's when accidents happen. Changing jobs, that's when accidents happen, right? So it's during transitions that we have to be very mindful of what we're doing. We have to be very deliberate in our actions. We have to plan it out, stick to the plan, be diligent, have support, and execute all of the steps so that we do the transition safely, getting rid of all the toxins and avoiding all illnesses and accidents. When I say accidents, I literally mean accidents, clumsiness, you know, fender benders, saying things you shouldn't be saying, thinking things that's just going to turn into a loop. Those are accidents that are caused by imbalance of the energies in the body. So that's the root cause. The second one is it's going to restore a sense of calm to the mind and the nervous system that is situated in springtime. So getting rid of what you did in the winter, the thoughts, the troubles that you went through, and restoring a sense of calm in the place and time where you're standing now. So that whole refreshing, starting again, kind of blank slate will come to you. Your sleep will improve, your immunity will improve, and thus your longevity will improve, and you'll have just better energy and vitality. The epigenetics, people who study there's a geneticist who studies, you know, the effects of your parents' genetics, their DNA on you, the outcome of your life, or the status of your health. But there's also geneticists who study several generations before you, how they contribute to your health today. One thing that we know is that the health of your liver and your kidneys is very much determined by many generations before even your parents. Fatty liver disease in the United States is epidemic, but it's not in the arid zones of India. And when they looked and discovered why is that, it's because the people of the arid zones of India for generations have been living in a zone where food was not very, very, very available all the time, all seasons, and in abundance. Foraging is very common there because that's the food that sustains them during a drought. So a community that suffers a drought anywhere in a person's history, the DNA remembers that, records that, and their livers, the livers of their children and the livers of their grandchildren react differently. They metabolize food more accurately, and they are ready for the next drought. Here in the United States, how many of us have survived near starvation? Right? The autophagy of the body eating the detritus of our lives is not happening enough. So this is another way, the spring cleanse, it's another way of turning on our DNA and remembering the liver is supposed to eat all the stuff and get rid of all of the stuff. You know, everything that comes in is supposed to be metabolized and leave. So the spring cleanse is another way of setting up your DNA to inform yourself and the next generations to keep the liver healthy. It is the king of your metabolism. So that's just a little fun story about epigenetics. I think it's fascinating. They studied people here in the United States that went through the Dust Bowl of the 1910s through 1920s, and they discovered that the decedents, the people who came after those people who suffered drought and starvation, the people that came after still had the genetic components, the memory of starvation, and the bodies, the liver, the kidneys, at a cellular level were still responding to lacking food in the same productive or destructive ways that had happened 7 generations before. So what you're doing today doesn't affect you. It affects everybody, everywhere, all the time. So, okay, what to expect. So, you know, spring cleanse, and this is a place where, you know, previous participants can definitely chime in and tell us what they went through. The spring cleanse, because there's a component of fasting to it, and we're not going to go days where there is no food, but we are definitely reducing our intake to exactly the right amount of carbohydrates, exactly the right amount of proteins, and exactly the right amount of fat to sustain your adult body, and nothing more than that. And because you're only getting just enough fuel to manage one day, there's not going to be any excess. So when the liver starts to realize that you're not, that the entire buffet is no longer available to it, there is some emotional kickback to that. There is some thoughts that, you know, start to chime in that are not reasonable. You know, it comes from parts of your body that says, you have to eat, stupid, you know, and it's not a reasonable message. And so you're going to have to start listening to those messages that come up, and I would like you to record them so you can see them later and realize how your body communicates things to you in a positive way. Red flags, you know, there's something going on that you need to pay attention to, but also in an ancient sort of lizard brain way that says, eat everything in the fridge because that's what's going to keep you alive. It's not a reasonable statement. So if you start to record those ideas that are popping into your head when they happen, something about the intellect, we call it the buddhi, will look at those statements and really sort of analyze it and say, is that true? Is that actually fact, or is that some sort of ancient reaction from, some part of my existence that's trying to make me stay alive in a way that is inappropriate? So write that down and keep your journal. So there's ups and downs emotionally. Most of us experience benefits within the first few days, but within the first week, for sure, there's going to be an enormous amount of energy. I remember last year, somebody said, I just can't get to sleep at night. So when I asked, what time are you going to bed? It was way too early. The person was ill and was accustomed to being in bed 12 to 14 hours a day. And so it's not going to happen like that anymore. You're going to need just enough sleep, not an excessive amount of sleep. And then in the morning, when you're done sleeping, your eyes will open and you'll be ready for the day, because there won't be any of that food hangover that we're accustomed to having in the morning when our bodies don't dump enough during the night. So our energy increases a great deal, and you'll have to, again, record that and figure out what to do with that excess energy. Hopefully it's going to be something productive, and you'll get lots of email support to give you hints as to what to do with that extra energy. Some of it will be spent in education. You'll get links or reading assignments or things to look at on YouTube. You'll get journal assignments, and you'll get yoga practices. There will be other things to spend your time on that will, again, start to increase your longevity. It's not easy to do the spring cleanse unless you accommodate for it in your calendar and your work life. A regular 9-to-5 job is fine, but the first week is going to be a challenge for you, because there's not going to be excess nutrition, packed away. You're going to be having a lot of khichdi. First few days is with vegetable. The next few days is without vegetable. So you'll have several small meals throughout the day. So if you have a great big job, you'll start to figure out a way to juggle, keeping your fuel running and keeping your mind running. And it'll be a bit of a juggle. You're going to find yourself craving peace, a quiet closet with a pillow, a silent book with a candle. You're going to find yourself wanting to be with the trees, wanting to be artful and wanting to study or write. It's natural. It's just a natural part of sadhana or retreat or the changeover. Totally normal. And make time for that. So what are some, we see natural signs all around us in our ecosystem of this happening at the same time. And the reason I ask you this is because I want you to be aware of that. There are signs in front of you every day, your whole life, that tell you you are nature. You're not part of a tree. You actually are the creator of everything around you. And part of that is an ecosystem that supports you. And so if you look at simple things like this picture is snow melting. It's a normal part of the season in the north. I find this picture fascinating because when the precipitation freezes and comes down and sits on the trees, the microbes from the sky, whatever was up there, sits on the trees now, blends with the microbes that were on the tree, makes something new. All the minerals are there all around it like an envelope. And when the spring comes and it warms up, it falls off the trees, carries all those minerals and those microbes down and into the soil. It's a very natural and necessary part of soil regeneration. So the system that is going on inside your body is that. It is a natural sloughing off of the microbes that are no longer needed, giving it back to the earth, and you're taking on new ones for the next season. There are signs of this happening all around you. If you have animals in your home, right about now, they're starting to lose their coats. Your house is covered with hair, right? Or if you live near the lake or an ocean, now is when you're going to start seeing the tides change. Very important for the algae and other components of the ocean and how it neutralifies itself and land. So spend some time and be aware of things changing around you and write it down. Does the air smell differently? Are the trees behaving differently? The birds are sounding differently. I know in Michigan that we've had the last snow when the finches arrive, because they don't do deep winter. They only do the first days of spring. So we know those things. We know all the way through back through history, the natives could tell you when the spring was coming because of the behavior of ants when they were coming up and starting their homes, or other creatures and their behaviors. So be that person that looks for signs outside of yourself. And when you do that, you're going to become more subtle in watching for those signs in yourself. And those all mean something. So the process of change is something that we need to address, because you're going to go through a change, and it's not haphazard. It's not chaos. It isn't chaos theory in that it can be bucketed in 3 different sections, and you're going to go through all 3 sections, not with hard lines between them like you see here, but there will be 3 sections of your development as you go through a spring cleanse or any kind of transition for that matter. The first one is the letting go. So as this begins, you'll have 2 days of preparation, and you'll have that in an assignment for the next 2 days to prepare your house, your office, your closet, your bedroom, your kitchen, your family, right? Your schedule. You'll have time to get the runway clear and get ready for letting things go from the previous season, or maybe from the previous year or the previous life. It depends on how big your cleanse is getting. But during that time, as the cleanse begins, it begins the first phase of the life change, and you'll be sitting down and deciding what mindsets and what habits, either from the last season or my last life, do I not need anymore, don't serve me anymore. And you can write those things down or expand on them. Why? After you've been going through that for a few days, you're eating a lot of khichdi with a lot of turmeric and a lot of ghee. By the 3rd or 4th day, your intestinal tract has pretty much dumped 3 to 4 pounds of fecal matter. You're getting very thirsty. Fasting like this is very hard on your kidneys if you're dehydrated. So please focus and find a way to track your hydration. So by the end of the 3rd, 4th day, you'll be very thirsty. You're going to improve your hydration. And there will be a moment when you say, really, all I need is just like a cabin in the woods and a fire and my book. I really just need that. And that's a sign that you're getting ready for your incubation stage. Incubation stage is really, you're going to be sitting down saying, okay, what do I want? What am I willing to sacrifice to get it? And it's a deep dive into, those existential conversations with yourself about, I have this one life, I have this one body, I have this one spring opportunity. This spring doesn't come again. What do I want this time? And you get that time to meditate and be still and be warm and be comfortable. The meals are going to be super simple. There's not a lot to do. In the morning, you're going to be oiling yourself. You're going to be comfortable and tired because you're going to be doing yoga every day and walking every day. So you'll be sleeping at this point. By the 7th day, you'll be sleeping very deep at night. And it'll be a good springtime incubation phase. And then you'll be done with it. Once we start the juicing phase, you're going to be full of energy. You're going to be excited about drinking juice for 3 days, a vegetable juice for 3 days. And you're going to be, some people are anxious to get it done and get on with their life, but be patient. The moving on phase also needs some time. You'll be developing new mindsets that about that time, about day 15, you're going to be saying, I want to be like this forever. I'm never going back to my old ways. I'm never going back to the way I used to eat before. I'm never going back to Netflix. You know, get the TV off the wall. We're not doing this anymore. You know, so that's the big declarations come at that time, and the big commitments. And I just, you know, so be easeful. If you're part of a family, those are family agreements. But you know, that those are the times when people really design a new way to live. And you can see at that point also, if you did this change every year, every spring, you had this blank sheet every time spring came. Imagine after 5 years of these spring cleaning, imagine how many times you would have gone through this process of change, of letting go, incubation, and moving on. You can begin to redefine many things about your existence from a simple 21-day adjustment to how much luggage you're carrying around in your GI system and your cellular bodies. So that's the process. I just thought it was important to tell you that here, because this is not just a fasting program. Going without food, you'll find out how attached you are to food. And I like eating. Everybody else does too, but I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. It's my laboratory. So being without that time for myself is a habit that is hard to adjust to. So these are the 5 activities we're going to go through in 23 days. We're going to go through a preparatory phase. I liken this to cleaning wood furniture. We don't use Windex on wood furniture because wood furniture is fragile and it's very porous and it's very natural. So we use something that the wood would have used when it was in the woods. We would use oil. And so the body is this way too. One fascinating thing about the intestines that I think nobody really can wrap their mind around is, if you look at your skin, you have 7 layers in your skin. You know, many layers of cellular bodies are there. And the reason they're there is for 2 reasons. Is to protect your inside of your body from the environment, right? Pollutions or whatever. But also those 7 layers communicate whatever's going on in the inside of the body with what's happening on the outside of the body, and vice versa. The skin is used as a communicator. In the case of our intestinal system, unlike our skin that has many layers of cells, our intestines has 1 cell. There is only 1 cell that separates what's inside your intestines from your bloodstream. 1. And so the fragility of your intestines is really something you need to understand when cleaning it, or obviously when you're eating, because if everything you're eating is too much or too wrong, and you know it's going right through your intestinal wall into your bloodstream as toxins, that's a good wake-up call. But to clean it, you need to clean it with something, understanding that it's very porous and very fragile, and that is oil. So we're going to be preparing the intestines for cleaning by eating very simple foods, in this case khichdi, that's made with basmati rice, mung bean, and ghee, a little bit of turmeric. And so it's exactly the right amount of calories in all of the nutrients that you need with the right amount of oil. 3 days of that lubricates the inside of your body and gets it ready for what we're about to do to it. The second level of oleation then is going to happen on the outside of the body. So we're going to do the same thing we're doing on the inside, but we're going to do it on the outside. We're going to do oilation of the outside of the body, and that's a simple oil rub down every morning with the oil that you should be using for your body type. And then after several days of that, with some sweating and thrown in, then we're going to go to the pradana karma, which is the active cleansing. So now that we have the intestines are prepared, they're oiled, the outside of the body is oiled, now we're ready for removing all of the built up tar and toxins and dead microbes on the inside of the GI, we're going to remove them. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to drink salt water. It's called prakshalana. This is a yogic form of cleansing. The Ayurveda form of cleansing is with a pill that forces you to have diarrhea, but those pills are illegal in the United States. And I find that the saltwater cleansing is a little bit more tolerable and it's thorough. We'll meet together here in Zoom. We'll all do it together. We'll do it safely. There are people that should not be practicing this, people who are pregnant, who have extraordinarily high blood pressure, people who are over 70, people who are recovering from surgery, such as a C-section or heart surgery. And of course, everyone needs to have gone through an intake with me so that they're vetted to make sure that they can go through that. So after that last day, when we do the saltwater cleanse, then it's a fresh start, right? The intestines are squeaky clean. And what we have after that, first thing is the first meal. The first meal is the teacher. First meal after you do a saltwater cleanse is, again, khichdi. It's exactly the right amount of protein with exactly the right amount of carbohydrate and exactly the right amount of fat. So those brand new microbes you have in your intestines are going to be taught through this first meal how they're going to behave for the rest of the season. For instance, if you have a brand new student, in your intestines, and you feed that brand new student Coke, ice cold Coke, right? That microbe is going to say, oh, I'm here to learn how to digest Coke. No problem, I'll figure that out. But what happens when you feed it chicken and broccoli and rice? It has no idea what it is. It passes through the GI tract and turns into toxins that enter into the bloodstream and cause havoc. So the first meal is the teacher. You have to teach the new microbes what their job is and how to do it. So 45 minutes after you have your last flush with the salt water, you eat the khichdi, and we'll give you full instructions on how to do this. It is exact. It was published in the Vedas 5,000 years ago. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just the guide. And then for 14 days after that, you're very careful because every new microbe that is born in your system, they're all just so eager to learn. So everything you feed them, you're teaching them how they're going to process food for the next year. So no junk food, no ice cold food, no beef, no alcohol, very little caffeine if you can avoid it. Just no junk, no synthetics, none of this new, your food has been coated with a peel, with fungicides and pesticides, stick to clean, organic, simple foods for just a couple weeks. So what's the benefit of doing that? All of this sounds like, when I hear myself tell people this, I think, who's going to do this? So the story goes that if you do this right, then for the rest of the year, you don't have to worry about going to the barbecue or going to the birthday party or, going to the champagne, celebration, because you know that your microbes know what they're doing. And if you have a treat once in a while, it's not going to freak out. How many of you, by the end of winter season, feel that literally everything you eat is turning into another pound? By the time January and February comes around, it is so frustrating you're eating well, you're eating healthy, you're eating the right thing, but for some reason, everything you put into your mouth turns into more weight. So this is what we're trying to stop happening for the rest of the year. If you do the cleanse right, then your microbes will be good students, eager students, and hard-working, ethical little buggers that they should be. And you don't have to worry about putting on weight every time you go off of your weekly menu, right? So the first phase, 5 days, we're going to prepare the gut by eating simple foods along with the herbs, triphala. You'll get all this stuff in the mail, obviously. I'll give you the shopping list here too. And so it's just a simple 5 days. Start out the first 2 days just to give yourself some time. You can add some vegetables to the khichdi, but by the end of the 5th day, you'll be eating just plain old khichdi for the first phase. And then the second phase, days 6 through 10, that's when you're going to be doing the internal oleation. You wake up in the morning, you heat up a little bit of your prescribed oils. In my case, it's ghee. Then you swallow that ghee first thing in the morning, before water, before anything. The first thing down is the ghee. And then you move on to the rest of the day. You'll get the instructions later. You will be eating khichdi during this phase, but it's just not right away. The ghee takes a while to digest. So when you feel like you're not belching, popcorn butter anymore, then you can have a small meal. And then days 11 through 15 is where we're doing our own oil massage and finding a way to sweat. Here are some options: a sauna, a steam bath, a hot bath. Even if you have a shower where the door closes, you can get in and turn the water on high, but don't stand in the water. Just point the water at the wall and let the steam you. You can in India, sometimes they just bundle themselves up, in the hot weather until the sweat comes. Younger students, they can exercise, just go for a really vigorous run until they start to sweat. So we're trying to get the body to start expelling toxins through the sweat ducts. And then days 16 through 21, we're going to be doing the active cleansing at that time. So this will have already concluded the juicing section. So then the last day, there we are. The last day, we're going to be doing 8 to 11 a.m. on Zoom, drinking the salt water, synchronized with asana. You get training for this the night before. There's a video, there's an instruction booklet, exactly what to prepare to bring to the call. I'll be meeting with you from my yogashala here in the clinic. We'll all be on camera together. We'll do the postures together. You have to have access to a private bathroom for that section that is very near to your camera where you're going to be doing your practice, and dress loosely with elastic pants, nothing with ties, because it's fast and fun. It's the most fun you'll probably have in the bathroom your whole life, I think. So, and then after that, you'll be taking Chyawanprash, which is a paste, a nutritive paste. You can take it in milk at that point, or almond milk. Once a day, you'll be taking oil into the nose, and you'll be taking herbals. Again, all of that arrives in the mail to you. So there you go. That's the whole schedule. No need to write that down. You're going to get that in your booklet, and Wendy's going to give you access to that booklet as soon as you get yourself registered. Those are the education days where we'll be meeting online. The link is the same as this link, I believe, but you'll get that all in the message. There's your shopping list. So everybody should be shopping for basmati and mung. I got a good question today. Can we use brown basmati instead of white? Because some of us are on a low acid diet. Absolutely. Just make sure that it's cooked well. I know that brown rice takes a little bit longer than the basmati. The brilliance of cooking them together like this, the basmati and the mung, is that they take the same amount of time. But brown rice takes longer, so you'll have to parboil that before. That's your shopping list. The essential oil, what perfume you'll be using, that's also included in the booklet. The vegetables that you have to choose from is all in the booklet. The Celtic salt you'll get in the mail. And then you're going to get daily email support from me that will have your education for the day. And I know you're all working. This is not an obligatory thing where you have to, sit down and put this time aside, but find a way to poke around at the videos and the articles that I send if they interest you and they support you. I want you to know that this is not a place for you to be a perfectionist. This is just, there's an order to doing those things, all of these things. For instance, I have to be traveling this weekend, for training. So it's not going to be so easy for me to be eating khichdi 4 or 5 times a day. So we have to make small adjustments in the calendar, but the only thing is you want to be ready for the saltwater cleanse when that time comes. You don't want to have a whole GI tract full of very difficult things to move. You want to be pretty much empty by the time we get to the saltwater cleanse. So be easy on yourself and be soft, but be diligent, and always reach out for help when you need it. And you can do that just by responding. You know, I think if you write to my email or Caitlin's email, somebody's going to answer your question pretty quick. Okay, so there you go. I want to wish you all happy cleansing, as happy as you can be, and know that it is just a short period of time, just like spring is. It comes and it goes, and then we get into the next season. And that a spring cleanse is really not about, though it might feel sometimes, it's not about deprivation or avoidance or correction of what you did in the past. It really is just about taking the rubbish out. And when we take the rubbish out of our kitchen, we don't usually look at it and shame ourselves. We just take out the garbage, right? And that's all we're doing now. And if you stick with it, it is an amazing investment, not only in this year, but in your own discipline, and eventually in the entire year, when you see how your GI and your metabolism works so much better after just a 21-day intervention, you'll be hooked. So happy cleansing. Reach out to me should you need absolutely anything, and Caitlin and I will get back to you right away. Namaste. Good luck.